There's this concept that gets thrown around a lot these days called gaslighting.
You gaslighted me!
And you're probably already aware that it comes from a film called The Gaslight. And I have actually seen the film, and it's a word that I have been known to use myself. And I don't have any really profound insights to make about gaslighting, but I do have direct experience with it. It was something that happened to me almost a year ago that I still think about now because it had such a massive impact on me. I really learned a lot about myself that day. It was a very ordinary situation where I was getting some lunch from a bakery. Because it was almost Christmas, they had a turkey sandwich that they didn't usually have, so I thought I'd try the new sandwich, the turkey sandwich, and I asked for it, I was sold it, it was all very ordinary, and I took it outside. I was so hungry, so I unwrapped it, and I was about to take a bite when I caught the scent of tuna, and I looked inside, and it was a tuna sandwich, and I thought, oh, good thing I noticed before I got home. I'll take it inside, and I will get the sandwich that I ordered, and this will all be taken care of very simply. There was no one at the line. I didn't have to wait a long time. I just told the lady who'd given me the sandwich, I said, you've given me tuna. I asked for turkey. And to my dismay, she looked me right in the eyes and said, yeah, that's turkey. She didn't look at the sandwich she gave me. She didn't look at the sandwiches that were still on display. She didn't need to know anything else. She knew I was wrong. She said it with such utter confidence that I think partly I felt quite embarrassed. Like, when someone tells you something like that right to your face, it's kind of impolite to contradict them. But when she said that, it was like she was so confident in herself that she changed the certainty that I had in my own mind about the contents of the sandwich that I was holding, to the point that I didn't even want to check. Like, I was just holding the sandwich. I could have opened it and showed to her. I thought I must have made a mistake. Clearly she knows what she's talking about. I just left the shop and I ate the sandwich, and it was tuna, but there was still a 1% part of my brain thinking, is it possible that this sandwich is actually a turkey sandwich, and that it just tastes and looks exactly like a tuna mayonnaise sandwich? And it just got me thinking about how our own perception of reality is filtered through our temperament. If you've watched this channel for long enough, you probably know that I am a very, cautious thinker. I'm not really certain about anything that I'm thinking, anything that I'm saying. I'm constantly questioning my own beliefs about things, my own ideas about things. And I'm constantly questioning what other people say as well. I'm never really sure that I've reached a profound insight, or that I've actually hit on truth. It only really feels like I'm sort of circling, getting ever closer to it. But I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. And when this woman, the sandwich woman, gaslit me about the contents of my sandwich, I realised that there really was no reason for her to be so confident about my sandwich, right? I don't know where she gets her confidence, but I started to wish I was a little bit less like myself and a little bit more like her. I feel like maybe I'd do better in life if I had that kind of confidence in anything that I said. If I was this confident about myself, maybe I'd be able to do something great.
Believing in yourself may be the most important thing in life. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe. And you can do anything. You can do anything.
So the strict definition of gaslighting requires that the person who is doing the gaslighting is intentionally lying. They're intentionally trying to mislead someone. But the way that I am using it in this video, which I've seen other people do as well, I think, is more to when someone is saying something that they do believe to be true. It's not actually lying, because they're saying something that they actually truly believe, but they're asserting it with far more confidence than it deserves. They are far too confident in themselves, and they're using this confidence in themselves as a rhetorical device to make someone doubt themselves. That is the gaslighting, is to make the other person doubt themselves by just being so overly confident in what you're saying. And often what I see is that this element of being confident in what you're saying, I think, is really important, especially for being successful on YouTube, for being a successful intellectual, online or otherwise. You can't tell people that I'm not sure. You know, like if you act like you're searching for the truth the way I am, people go like, well, why should I listen to what you say? You don't even believe what you're saying. And fair enough. But what it seems to me is that the people who are really successful, they aren't questioning themselves at much. And it's not because they're right, it's because they just lack humility. And it's also true in like the business world, in an organization. What I'd see over and over again in the workplace is that you'd have a meeting where there was something to be decided, and what I would see is that the person who was the most sure of themselves, who was most sure of what they were saying, would often be the one who people would listen to. If I had a contradictory opinion, it's kind of embarrassing to speak out about it when someone's so sure of themselves, just like in the sandwich shop. And so this effect, it has an effect on everyone in the room, and we all sort of end up agreeing with this person, even though their idea isn't really any better than anyone else's. It's just that they are, through their own force of will, enforcing it on everyone else. It's an element of rhetoric, which is a concept that it's a little bit dead in modern era. We don't teach rhetoric to students anymore, the way that the ancient Romans did. But I think it's a really useful skill. It's so powerful that it's almost kind of like Jedi powers, like it's a path to the dark side, I think.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
I remember this incident that happened, I think it was probably last year now, it was so long ago, on the Whatever podcast. I saw a clip, I don't usually watch the Whatever podcast, but I saw this clip of the statistician / sex worker Ayala on the Whatever podcast, and they were arguing about something, but this point came up about control in the context of a statistical analysis or in like a study.
A control is when you make sure that you're testing a group to make sure that it is not being affected by your intervention. It's a control group.
Form of control.
Okay, or you can test two variables to see if there's a correlation. And are you saying that
the very first control that you gave us?
I have never in my life heard the word control used to refer to one of the variables, which was your.
And I just wanted to let you know that this clip of the Whatever podcast is not. It's not someone reacting to the podcast, as you might think, looking at the way that it's filmed, the way that it's uploaded. That this chap in the middle, he is one of the hosts. I don't know why he was sort of working remotely that day. He wasn't in the studio with them. He's actually talking. He's the one arguing with Ayala, and he's sort of just appearing in this box in the middle of the screen. So I just wanted to clear that up. What was really fascinating is this guy who's a host on the Whatever podcast. He contradicts Ayala, the statistician, about her use of the word control, and he is completely wrong. He's absolutely incorrect about the word control in the way he says it. But just like the sandwich woman, he's absolutely convinced of his own rectitude, his own correctness in this instant. When confronted with someone who's completely incorrect but completely confident in themselves, she almost flinches, like not physically flinching, but she does the rhetorical equivalent of flinching, where she accidentally sort of gives ground to Andrew Wilson, his name, I think.
I could be wrong. I am willing to say I was wrong if it turns out that standard science.
If you're setting parameters for an experiment, everything that you're setting which would rule X variable out would be a control.
This guy who's just said something completely false, and the more they talk about it, the more he reveals that he's completely wrong, and she reveals that she understands statistical study design much better than he does.
A control for this. Like, okay, my hypothesis is that there's flint, which makes this flame happen, right? So I can add a variance. I can add 100 different variances of controls to this, can't I? I could take the flint out, for instance, or possibly I can add multiple flints, or I could say, well, we're not going to do that at all. We're only going to do X. All of those things would be controls in the experiment for how this flint made this lighter work. If you're talking about statistics when it comes to studies, the very first thing you say is the way that I would do this is I would divide X by Y. You're introducing a control which rules other things out.
And it's so funny to watch because the whatever podcast rose in prominence and popularity because they made a sport of inviting. It's just these blokes, right? These guys. They have a sort of a higher than average ability in rhetoric and debate and charisma, and they invite on these sort of bimbo women, these inarticulate, pretty, just girly girls. Quite a lot of the time they bring on these like dumb women, and they just make fun of them, and they try to debate them, and then they like have a good laugh about how easy it is to outsmart these girls who have sort of signed up to be humiliated for whatever reason.
A guy, if he makes 6 figures, no, 7 figures, because of inflation. Yeah, because of inflammation. Yeah.
This stupid.
I am not.
This stupid. This is stupid. I am smarter than the hot 18-year-old. We're smart, she's stupid.
But then in this one instance where Ayala is actually in the right, completely unambiguously correct, and this guy whose job it is to humiliate women, and especially prostitutes and porn stars, this guy who does this for a job, like making fun of stupid women, he's still doing that. He's still doing that to her, but she's completely correct and also much more experienced in the in that field of study than he is. So the entire exchange has this very surreal quality to it. From a viewer's perspective. I'll try to leave a link to it in the description, but the podcast that it was from is several hours long. I think more than 3 hours long, and it's only about like 4 minutes of the podcast, so I'll try to leave instructions on the best way to watch it in context. The rest of the show, I don't like the whatever podcast. I didn't even really like that episode except for that little like few minute segment.
Stand attempting to rule things out.
That's a control. You can't even do experiments without controls. That's my whole point.
I think you're coming from an extremely different type of science than I am, or else you don't understand how the science that I'm doing works. I'm not sure which one is the case.
Thanks for watching, and thanks to everyone who watched that video about Sydney Sweeney, because that video was viewed a lot, which I'm really happy about. Why does that make me happy? I don't know. I guess I just like the prestige of creating a video that people like and that lots of people want to watch. So welcome if you've joined the channel since I made that Sydney Sweeney video, and that was the first video of mine that you've seen. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for watching this one. I hope I'll make lots of interesting videos for you to watch. And goodbye. You may know me as Poe, but my name is actually Polly. And although I used to be an engineer, which is how a lot of people got to know me on YouTube, I kept having all these kids. And so I took some time off engineering to spend some time with them and to focus more on making art and doing illustration. But then while I was doing that, I got distracted writing this book about Bluey. The name of the book is Happy Tears, and it's got comics in it. But I know what you're thinking. That doesn't say Poe or Polly. It says GC Card, and that is because that is my pen name.